Does Chloe Bailey know that her Venus brand is connected to being the church for the streetwalkers? She also has Lilith in Libra, in which we're having this transit right now. And Lilith in Libra is literally someone who had a past life where they were connected to prostitution, scandals, being the mistress, being the side chick. Like the mentality, the emotion that you experience from these past lives bring you into a knowing of something that others don't in this life. This is going to be a bit of a lookbook as well because there's so many images, and it goes to say that people who have Venus and Gemini placements personal to feminine aspects, typically they will have a ton of media on them. One other Venus and Gemini is Jennifer Lopez, who actually created Google Images off of her green dress that she wore. So like Venus and Gemini create iconic media. By the end of this reading, you're going to understand how to pick out Venus and feminine secrets like Lilith in order to evoke your own sensuality and seduction. You can go to allthingsgirlymagic.com and book your profile reading. From the album, my favorite songs, All I Got, Might As Well, giving the church vibes. Well, her Venus is in the 9th house, okay? The 9th house is connected to your venue. So her formality is on point because the 9th house is like going to sacred places, being in churches. And a lot of people may not recognize how much she utilizes the silhouette of a gown, which really hints to her 9th house impact of her Venus brand, of her beauty, of her art, in the venue of the 9th house of higher spirituality connected to certain gurus, religions. Also, education is a big thing, and I haven't seen her play around with that. So her 9th house is church. Her Venus in Gemini is the street. And that's where we get a church for the streetwalkers. Venus is our sensuality. It's how we are irresistible to people. When we see a Venus in Gemini, the Venus beauty and fashion is connected to jewel tones and lots of jewels, lots of bedazzled gems and jewels, cutouts in the clothes, as well as multicolored, right? The jewel version of that color. So jewel tone colors as well. One thing that I also find in Venus and Gemini specifically is all white or all black. And I feel like that brings out the devil side of Gemini, the dual side, the angel and the devil or the shadow, right? So, or the hero or the villain. So Venus and Geminis will portray themselves in these fashions, and it really brings out the tone of Gemini in a Venus and sensual way. Her Venus spirit animal is, get this, a rat. And yes, sometimes we actually embody some of this in our features, but it also can be a part of the aesthetic that you'll see. So she does emanate more Venusian energy when she is in like these brown or light brown aesthetics. Now, this is coming from the Gene Keys, right? So this is literally the gate of Gene Key 16. And this is the shadow of indifference into the gift of mastery. So as she masters her Venus energy, she emanates a beauty that is the formula of majesty. Okay. And the archetype of her beauty is the enthusiast, which really speaks to helping to bring enthusiasm to specifically Venus, to her Venus energy, which is a dominant sensual energy, as we can see. So she's bringing enthusiasm to this very thing. Now, you can unlock yours as well by combining your feminine aspects of your Lilith, of your Venus, of your moon, and this will help you to tap in. So for Chloe, in her self-concept deck, which I do offer as well, she would have all 64 cards, but this would be her Venus card. And this would remind her of the frequency that she truly emanates to help unlock or unblock any sort of stagnancy in her irresistibility. We also have to talk about Chloe Bailey's Lilith. I have a video on Lilith in Libra, which I'll tag here. This is really powerful because her moon energy is here, which is the ruler of her son's energy, right? And Lilith is also here. And they both emphasize Libra, and Libra is currently transiting, Lilith is currently transiting Libra at this time. So Libra Lilith is very, the energy is very much so connected to being flirtatious, being with many different partners. The Lilith part of us is the dark side of the feminine conscious, which is quite chaotic. And in many ways, Lilith in Libra expresses the need to, what you would say, cheat or have multiple partners. And this comes from two things. Her Venus need for pleasure, which is going to give her the chance to basically, how do I say this? Her Venus pleasure desires many different types of partners. Because if you can't get pleasure from one, then you also seek it out in many others. But there's also the backlash that if you feel rejected, right? Because Lilith in our chart is where we feel rejected. So Lilith in Libra is rejected in relationships, right? And when rejected, that rejection comes through the form of either the concept of cheating, of being rejected by cheating, or being this person who like plays the game, because like it's a political stance. It's a political stance. Like if if the idea is that all men cheat, then why can't women cheat? So it's looking for this like backwards way of justice, right? Through this concept of vanity and justice and like a personal justice. So we see this in Trouble in Paradise, and I feel like this happens a lot in her energy because she is natal to Lilith and Libra. So this is the work that she's here to do. Now, because she has a really good feminine energy based off of her sun in Cancer, a dominant feminine energy, in a lot of ways, her brand is going to come off as a girl's girl. And so it doesn't feel like she's the type of person that is saying, I'm going to take your man. But a Lilith in Libra could very much do that. And if they did, it also creates so much chaos and structure. So actually, it creates a lot of chaos and decentering and destructuring. It creates a storm if that is the pursuance of Lilith in Libra. So her need to make peace with the feminine allows her to actually contribute a version and conscious of the feminine that is missing from certain feminine, right? So she's a church for the streetwalker, but what about the Libra aspect in the Lilith and Libra transit, where she is also addressing marriage? If the darkness of this would be that if prostitution and people who are in the sex industry, people who are not necessarily that extreme, but they are just singles out on the street, do they deserve marriage too, right? And if they don't, then that means that I will take your man, like I will take yours, right? It's that unjust justice that is coming out of Lilith, the dark side of the feminine and destroyer in Libra relationships. So in her higher altitude of Lilith, one thing that we'll see here is the ability to bring a consciousness to the feminine. And when the feminine is filled up, who lacks this consciousness, right? This version of her past life, of what it's like to be, approached for your body, what it's like to be lusted after. When you have that consciousness through her, then you actually develop compassion and empathy, right, for people who are not like you. And then the other thing that also you can introduce through curiosity, which is the Venus and Gemini pulling in, is, could you also entertain this consciousness within yourself? Because maybe it's also a repressed version of the conscious of many of the feminine, right? So if it's a repressed version that wants to express itself, you can agree, you can collaborate, you can accept, you can try it on for yourself, you can embody it. This is a true magical alchemical work that is happening with Lilith and Libra, and definitely people who are unleashing this type of energy probably is doing a lot of spiritual and physical routines, rituals, and magical work themselves to embody what they are here to embody. So it has a lot to do with the magic that we can create, that we can give to the world. It has an energy here where it's like, okay, well, if everyone thinks that we can't really have these equal relationships, then Lilith, or Lilith's energy, wants to destroy anything of that nature, any possibility of that nature. It's almost like, it's a twisted way of being like, I'm a girl's girl, right? I'm a girl's girl, and I'm a girl's girl, and because I'm looking out for you, sis. I'm making sure that you don't fall for the idea that this man will just want you, right? So Lilith used cheating. She uses the breaking of the partnership. So especially when you look at Libra being an energy of the fall, and it's an energy of the ego falling. So Lilith's ego is fallen, whatever that would mean. And that's where the rejection happens. And so the fall of that ego creates a inferiority that wants this unjust justice. And it's this idea that we could fight fire with fire. It's this idea that if you can do bad too, then why can't I? Right? And that's what is missing in Lilith's chaos, that is kind of twisted and distorted, because it's like, if you can do bad, then I should be able to do bad as well. But the whole point is that in the harmony and collaboration that Libra represents, we lose that sense of that. So this energy is very, very seductive. Like, people who naturally have this natally to them, right? They have a natural their sensuality is naturally salacious. It's not forced. It is natural to them. Okay? Because Lilith is the thing in your back pocket. It's the thing that no one knows what you're capable of doing, right? So in the fact that you are capable of being salacious, doesn't mean that she is or anything, but just the capacity to know what the dark side of your moon energy is going to be, is that it's very salacious in Libra. It's like, I can be with everyone. and everyone could want me. And so it's a gift to be a temptress. And Venus very much so is a gift. But so the thing here is that she has to bring herself out of the inferiority of the unjust justice and into a space where she does fight for morality. She fights against bureaucracy, against the obsession with the control of her own control to control what others do and the equality that she seeks in that. But then it also helps other people to let go of their control. And these are the elements that I feel that she has. So like in the Boy Bye song, I feel like that is a high spirited energy of her Lilith, because it has this level of goodbye, letting go of control symbolically. So at this level, she has the ability to listen to many ideas and synthesize them in order to form a proposal with many different facets, one that is easy to please everyone. Okay, and this is her honor, her revere, her highest self coming through in this project. I feel like her Venus in the ninth house showcases a higher morale. The tones of church elements in the music, the vibrations of her being in marriage, are showing. For someone who's a threatened eye, it would feel like she is proverbially taking your man. But in a lot of ways, if you see who it could be directed to, it's actually something that I feel like really embodies the feminine in the sense that there's a lot of people out here on the street, the concept of the street and the symbol of the street, and how they're, I'm going back to the streets, meaning that I'm not going to be in a monogamous relationship. So this is the path of people who walk that path, and they are in need of higher spiritual concepts. They're in need of ways to deal with the pain of being cheated on and having to be back out in the street. Imagine that you're domesticated, but you're thrown back out into the street. So this is a big part of her value system and what she is bringing to those people. A representation, a voice for people who desire a lot of sexual energy and intercourse, but are slightly loners walking the street. And it's like a safe space. It's a safe higher morality to that degree. So it doesn't look the way that you might think because it's Lilith. Lilith's energy is still dark. It still has a lot of things to it. But it actually can be very healing to all parties involved if she is able to continuously synthesize her ideas towards being more connected to unity and improving the social climate, right? So with her being in marriage material and being in the ninth house, which is ruled by Jupiter, and some say Jupiter rules the husband, right? There's this idea of someone who is very sexy, who's been on the streets, who deserves to be married too, and the feelings that are involved, the way that they look at life is different, and the way that they are treated in the world and seen in the world is very much so in a lot of shame. So when Venus comes here, she beautifies this, and it's not necessarily very pleasant. It's not always going to be very pleasant, but for the people who are involved, it's a safe haven. That's the ninth house of higher learning and expansion, and also giving more expansion to the people who are who are in marriages, people who are in partnerships, and the challenges that they face, right? And it actually, when Lilith is working in favor of the social climate, right, in Libra, then the work that she's doing here would help out everyone involved. It would improve marriages, and it would also help people to expand the way that they see who they think doesn't deserve marriage. So Jupiter brings a really bright light to this concept. I want to keep also in mind that Chloe has Virgo North Node and a Pisces South Node, and both of this axis is also connected to the mistress and the prostitute, and it's deeply connected to that. And her energy with South Node and Pisces is that she has an incredible well of compassion. When we're going towards the North Node, she is unveiling herself. So your South Node is your shell, and your North Node is how you take the shell off. So you unveil yourself to everyone. And with that, she has to confront what? North Node in Virgo, criticism, critics, and high eyebrow types of beliefs. And so we'll find that this is going to concur with her because she is here to break and liberate a space that people don't realize is blocked. And when her Lilith is working with this, which it is at this time on her, she is really confronted with the dark side of herself. And this is important when you have a North Node in Virgo, because Virgo is about moving towards purity. In her highest element, she is able to appeal to all. And that is the destiny of her purpose. So she, to me, is walking exactly towards her. So sorry guys, I did go on a pretty hefty rant because I really love diving into the chart in this way, especially when you see it as a brand essence and what they bring to the table on a frequency level. So there are a multitude of readings that were covered in this video: Venus, Lilith, North Node. So definitely check out All Things Girly Magic if you want to tap into yours, right? But embodying and studying other people also is powerful, especially if you got like Scorpio 8th house placements, because you're here to take on, inherit other people's energies, blueprints, and things like that. So this was a fun one to make. I hope you guys like it. If you have any suggestions, ideas, concerns, questions, throw them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.